Hello guys, Jerry speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM episode number 1207. Today we're reacting to Live from Barney's Couch episode 2. The Fate of Barney the Dinosaur. We have to begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Hang on.
On the costumes.
There we go.
Welcome back to Live from Barney's Couch. I'm Andrew Olson, aka Barney Builder, and today I want to talk about one of my favorite Barney topics, and that is the Barney costumes themselves. I'm going to give you a little history on the costumes, the costume development over the years, and what happened to the costumes, where they are today. So in my last video, I covered the original costume debuted in 1988 in Barney the Backyard Gang. I gave some history on it, how it was designed, and how it was built. If you haven't had a chance to see that video, I'll go ahead and put a link to it up here. Starting there in the summer of 1988, after production on Barney the Backyard Gang had wrapped, there was really no plans on doing anything else with Barney at the time. You know, they didn't have plans to do more videos and reprise the character. And so the sets were demolished, all the props were put into storage, and that was that. They did keep the costume out and readily available for some special promotional events and purposes, though. You know, they used that original costume to help promote the video series in late 1988 and even 1989. And they took that costume around to malls, they did video stores, schools, hospitals, and even birthday parties. As Barney started gaining more recognition and the video sales started to rise, the demand for live appearances started increasing as well. Now, not only was there demand for Barney locally in the Dallas area, but there was also a nationwide demand throughout the United States as Barney started gaining a reputation. And so the creators, they went back to Irene Gorey and Suzanne Lockridge and requested that they build a cheaper, more travel-friendly suit that they could use for live appearances nationwide, and that could be taken around to birthday parties locally. Now, the costume team built this next suit out of spandex rather than exposed foam, like the original costume. And the heads, arms, the body, the feet, and the legs, they're all separate to allow this for easier transportation and shipping all around the country. Now, they used this costume beginning in 1989, and they used it through 1991. The suit primarily...
First of all, what is that? Secondly, that's just a disgusting Barney costume I've ever seen. Sorry, Andrew, I'm not going to be harsh on this one, but... Okay. Continue on.
Was used for birthday parties, as well as community events, and even some video store appearances. By late 1989, the Lions Group felt that there was a big enough demand to reprise the character for a second set of videos, and by this time, they were running into a problem. The original costume that they had been using over the past year for various community events and appearances was at this point not screen worthy. This costume was not built to last. It was essentially built from exposed foam, polyfoam, the kind of foam that you find in your couch. It was glued together and basically just spray painted. Under hot, sweaty conditions, this foam deteriorates even faster than it would naturally. And this costume, by the end of 1989, was pretty much falling apart almost. So they knew that if they were to bring Barney back, that they would have to have a totally new costume built for the character. So they had Irene and Suzanne build a new costume for the second set of videos, and this costume would be used for Waiting for Santa, Barney Campfire Sing-Along, and Barney Goes to School. This costume was built really in the same manner as the original suit, being spray-painted foam, and as such, it really did not last that long. After filming the videos, they continued to use the suit through 1991 for press appearances and promotional events, after which they retired it. Now, after the issues they were having with the previous two show costumes being made of exposed foam, the costume builders started experimenting with some different materials. They used spandex again on a show-sized costume, but it really did not work out well, and that suit was just basically used for live appearances. They ultimately decided that Antron fleece would be the best bet to give Barney more of a plushy look to him.
Yeah.
And this new costume was debuted in Barney in Concert in 1991 and was a hit with the kids. This is probably the longest lasting of any other Barney costume used. It was used from 1991 through 1993 on screen, and at least until 1996 as a promotional suit. The internal costume team really tried to milk this suit as long as they could. Even between season 1 and 2 of the PBS show, they sent the costume back to the costume shop to have Barney's belly replaced, as the sweat from the performer inside was causing the green fleece around Barney's armpits to turn yellow. Now, shortly after this costume debuted, a second costume was ordered from Irene Corey, and it was supposed to be identical to the first costume that they had that debuted in Barney in Concert, but unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way. The second costume was actually labeled by the internal costume team as the Evil Twin. You know, he was a couple inches shorter than the original Barney costume that they had. He was a couple shades darker purple than the first one that they had built. And when viewed head on, he had this kind of maniacal grin about him that was kind of off-putting. And so they really didn't want to use this costume on camera. It rarely saw the light of day. They took it out a couple times for promotional events, but other than that, this costume stayed behind closed doors. Now, there was an attempt to salvage this costume in late 1992, where they sent it back to the Irene Corey workshop, and they replaced the fleece around the eyes and the mouth. They did not color match the fleece, though, and so it became really obvious that they were trying to do a patch job on it, and it just didn't turn out. They didn't end up using it anyways. By late 1992, Barney Mania was in full swing, and demand for the character was bigger than ever. Now, with this increased national attention, there was more demand for purple appearances than ever, and at the time, Lions Group was also looking for additional costume shops that could produce Barney suits for the TV show, as well as live appearances and events. And so they contracted with a costume builder named Dick Leonard to build some additional Barney costumes. Now, in the costume building industry, patterns that are made and developed by certain costume builders are viewed as proprietary information to that builder. So when Dick was hired to come in and build some new Barney costumes, he was not able to use Irene Corey's patterns because she wouldn't hand them over. Now, while the Lions Group did allow him to come in and view, take pictures and measurements of the real Barney suits for reference, as far as patterning went, he was on his own. Now, the outcome of these suits were not what was hoped for, and they were never used on TV. However, these costumes were used for many live appearances throughout 1993 for live shows, parades, mall appearances, and they were treated more as press suits than anything else. Now, in 1993, the Lions Group internal costume team knew that they needed to start standardizing Barney's image to allow costume builders to replicate him a lot easier. After seeing how Dick Leonard's suits turned out, and even the Evil Twin that Irene Corey had built, it became apparent that getting good Barney suits was going to be harder than they thought. Now, up to this time, all of the Barney suits built by Irene and Suzanne were built off of an aluminum frame. Basically, a metalsmith would make an aluminum frame of the Barney head, and Irene and Suzanne would come in and cover that with foam. But due to human error, it was near impossible to get two identical aluminum frames, just because these were all handmade, hand-sculpted. So the internal costume team, led by Jess Nelson and Ray Henry, flew to the UK to meet with Spitting Image. Spitting Image ended up sculpting a life-size Barney costume out of clay, by which the costume department went in and made some molds of it and started pumping out these fiberglass head shells.
Wow.
Fiberglass was going to be a lot more reliable. They could use the exact same mold and get hundreds and hundreds of Barney heads out of it. And even to this day, that exact same mold is still used to make Barney costumes. This would allow basically any costume shop in the world that they wanted to hire to be able to make Barney look like Barney. Now, this new costume, it debuted in the Radio City Music Hall and Barney Live in New York City in 1994. And the costume design was used through 1995. It was also in 1995 that the Lions Group was searching for a new costume manufacturer for the Universal Studios attraction, A Day in the Park with Barney. After working with several costume shops, they decided to go with Skaloon Productions. And Skaloon was actually already building all the mascots for Universal Studios Orlando. So the partnership made sense.
Yes.
To this day, Skaloon Productions is actually still the primary manufacturer for Barney costumes. Now, 1996 sees the last drastic change that Barney went through, and that is that of his fleece color and texture. You see, up until this time, the fleece that was being used on the Barney suits was produced by Malden Mills, which was the primary manufacturer for Antron fleece at the time.
Wait. Malden Mills Fire 95. Yeah, I was born. Continue on in December. Okay.
1995, Malden Mills burned down, and when they rebuilt, they decided to discontinue the fabric. So the Lions Group had to source the fabric from elsewhere, and when they found a material that worked, they ordered as much as they could to last them for years and years and dozens of costumes. For the remainder of the PBS series, Barney went through very few changes. And, you know, the changes in between costumes that you see weren't necessarily by design, but just because, you know, each costume is unique. You can't get an exact replica of, a Barney costume. Though one of the biggest intentional changes the costume went through was in the later seasons, he received connected ankles and feet to kind of round the costume out and give it a more realistic appearance, you could say. So you may be asking yourself, where are all these costumes today? There have been hundreds of dino costumes built for the show over the years, and yet we've never seen one come up for auction or sale. This goes back to the original Barney costume from 1988. That suit was used so much that by the end of its life, it was barely recognizable, and the costume was falling apart, and there was really no salvaging it. So ultimately, that was destroyed. And at that point, the creators didn't realize, how big Barney would become. Now, when the Barney Elvis years were in full swing, everyone was trying to get a piece of the pie of the Barney craze and make money off of Barney. Costume shops all around the country started renting knockoff Barney suits.
Yeah, that one. I mean, that was like... I don't even get that. Number one, it's just... basically 1983 knockoff, and two, it's just destroy the whole entire rip-off of knockoffs of Barney, like how much they want to destroy that, it's just too much. Continue on.
And offering unlicensed Barney appearances even. The Lions Group was very protective of their character, and this launched a years-long lawsuit against hundreds of costume shops and party rental services across the country, shutting them down and getting rid of all those counterfeit Barney costumes. And by the late 1990s, the Lions Group had kind of built this reputation of, instilling fear in these costume shops, and that they didn't want to even mess with Barney. But as a result of all these lawsuits, the Lions Group thought the best course of action for these Barney suits after they were retired was simply just to destroy them. Their greatest fear at the time was, what if one of these suits goes up for auction, goes for sale, and ends up in the hands of a Barney basher or in the hands of an unlicensed, costume renter. They have a official Barney costume that, has their image that they're going to be doing who knows what with. And so in order to protect Barney, they decided to destroy him. Now it seems sad that, a piece of our childhoods was destroyed alongside these costumes, but, in retrospect, it really was the best thing for Lions Group to do at the time. Now there are some costumes that have survived over the years. Now I don't have a complete list of all the costumes that are still out there in existence, but I do know of a couple. The final costume used on PBS I do know is still around. It last made an appearance in 2019. Until Appearances, managed by Scaloon, also has a couple of Barney costumes that they take out, and you can actually hire Barney if you're having a fair or a live event, a big public event. You can actually hire him to come out and do a sing-along show, and they still manage those costumes. Similarly, there's Kodomo in Canada that also has a Barney costume they take out for live appearances. Blue Horizon Licensing that has one for South African appearances. And I think there's still one floating around somewhere in Dubai. Now, there may be more suits out there, but we just don't know.
We don't know either.
Now, I want to shift gears a little bit and show off some of my collection and what I've added to my collection over the past couple of weeks. If you watched my last video and some of my previous videos, you'll see that I'm a really big Barney collector. And I add, a lot of items every month into my collection. And so I just wanted to showcase some of these collectibles to you today. Now this is a fun little guy that I picked up a couple weeks ago. This is a Cowboy Barney plush. These were never sold, and I think there's only about 200 of these produced. These were made for a video trade show that was held in Dallas in 1993, and the Lions Group were handing these out at their booth to people that came by. So really rare, and I'm happy I found it. My birthday was a couple weeks back, and my mom really knows that I love Barney stuff. And she found this Barney bag for me, still in its package. And
wow,
I have one.
That was rare, even though I haven't found any Barney bags yet. Continue on.
These, I love it. Love the Barney bag. Now, both of these were really fun finds. I think I found these on eBay. They are mugs or sippy cups, I guess, from two of the tours. They have Barney's Musical Castle on this one, and this is Barney's Big Surprise. And I think there's another one for Barney's Colorful World. I haven't been able to find that yet. And I thought these were cute and fun, so I got them together. I like going to thrift stores from time to time. I'll rarely find Barney stuff there, but once in a blue moon I do. And I picked this little Barney train up at the thrift store for about $5 a couple weeks ago. So I had to buy him. Now also for my birthday, I got this Barney cake pan still in its package and its bag. A couple weeks back, I found this jumbo BJ plush on eBay, and these are pretty rare, pretty hard to come by. He's, I don't know, about 2 feet tall. I think this is the biggest BJ plush that was ever made. He was made by Golden Bear, and I just couldn't say no when I saw him, so got him. This is another really fun item that I picked up a couple weeks ago. It's a watch with the Barney's Great Adventure logo on it.
Wow.
Now, I'm not sure if these were promotional items or crew and cast gifts. I talked to Bob West, and he couldn't remember. He says he thinks he has one somewhere still, but couldn't remember if they were promotional or just exclusive to the cast and crew. But either way, I'm happy I found it. It's still in this package, still has plastic on. It's never been used, and picked it up for about $50, so I thought it was a pretty good steal. I want to thank you all for watching today. If you made it to this point in the video, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you subscribe to my channel, it really helps me out and help me produce more Barney content. If you like this video, I appreciate a like below. If you have suggestions for future videos for me, go ahead and leave those in the comments below, and I'll try to get to them. Once again, I'm Andrew Olson, aka Barney Builder, and we'll talk to you next time live from Barney's couch.
So that was live from Barney's couch, episode number 2. What do I think about this episode? I think it was amazing. So far, this episode was a success. That was LJPCBM episode number 1207. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned. Next one's gonna be LJPCBM episode number 1208, which will be about live from Barney's couch, episode 3. Barney comes to Napton Marcus, 1991. Till next time, Sue Joseph, Papa, so baby. Good boy, guys, pretty soon. Out. See ya.
to me, this life I'll never take for granted. And given all the time I failed to really understand it, I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who gave the life that which is always happening. But I tried all the time. Why me? Why was I the one to see things as I do under the moonlight and the sun? Perception is the question, and the giver holds the key.